I love me some Minky. Let's make some blankets. Okay, so I am making a strip quilt with the, what'd you call this? Minky. Anyway, so these are pre-cut packages that came from Shannon, which is ironic because that's also the name of my sister who's videoing us right now. Anyway, so they're pre-cut, but you can also cut them smaller. But what we're doing is we've measured the backs, and I say that because we're making 6 at a time. We measured the backs, and we also measured the batting. And now we're laying it out. And so first thing you want to do is find your center. And then from there, I'm measuring out in sections. And these are 10-inch sections. So I just went to the center and went out 5 because this is going to be centered. And you want everything to be straight, which is why it's really important that you measure, because it's super easy to start going on an angle. Shannon, how did you do when you were by yourself? Did you get a lot of going crooked?
I did a little bit of crooked, but
you knew how to fix it.
Fixed it as I went. So
it's this fabric is super slick, so it will shift. So we're using spray glue, lots of pins, and we're measuring to make sure that we are staying put.
So she's marked 10 inches down, and she's drawn her lines across.
And the lines are really light because you want to not make a hole in your batting. But, so that's it for now. So I'm going to get that center piece, well, we'll just keep going.
So you can kind of see the lines. Hard to draw on batting.
Yeah, we thought about a Sharpie, but I don't know if that would really be a good idea. It might go through too much, it might not, I don't know.
These are the ones that I did over the weekend that I've sort of started. So that's kind of where we're going.
So what we do is we had 6 sets and they're all identical, and then we just mixed up the fabrics from all the 6 sets. So each one's actually going to be a little bit different, and that's just because we had so many pieces of fabric to work with. But when you buy a kit, the Shannon, you don't have a boxing over here.
Yes, I do actually.
We'll have to look for it. Anyway, those kits have, was it 8 10-inch strips or 7?
8.
8, that's right. And you can cut them smaller. In fact, we'll show you one that Shannon did that was cut smaller. And no, we're not ready to do that yet. I'm gonna keep measuring. Yeah, hang out.
Okay, so here is the box that it came in. It is called Shannon. This is what the pattern, what they say it's supposed to look like. Oh, that's upside down. But it really doesn't matter. It also shows you here all the different ways you can like lay your patterns out. But it's, oh, it's the other paper. It's this one. So it comes with the 8 strips. So if you just did, lay that flat, the 8, it would just be solid ones. But if you cut them thinner, you can do whatever pattern you want. So that's what I did with mine, is a couple of them I cut thin, a couple of them I left big. So we'll show you those after.
So I've gone through and I have made lines every 10 inches just so we have a straight line. I started with the center because it had a nice crease in the middle of the batting, so I didn't have to measure anywhere. I just followed that crease. You want to make sure it's straight if you do that. And now I'm just laying my first piece out, and look, it goes right between the lines, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but these are 10 inches wide, which is why I measured at 10 inches. And I know it's centered because I had a center line and I went out 5 inches. And then you take spray glue. We're using 505 and it's almost empty, so we'll see if we can get any out of it. But the goal is to keep things from moving. And by the way, between the back piece and the batting is also sprayed, the 505 or whatever glue product you want to use. But the problem is everything shifts. It is so slippery and thick, and you want to make sure you have your walking foot on the machine, and that's where it starts to get, I don't think there's hardly anything coming out of this can. We almost made all of our blankets with the can. It's sticky. It's all right. Don't do what I'm doing.
Get
low. I think that one is done. Okay, so now we have that down and we're ready to start top stitching. But first, we're going to take the next 2 pieces on each side to make it easier and pin them in place. And then the way that this works, is I'm just going to use the 10-inch strips, and this will be the next one that I put down. But what you do is you lay it on top, you pin it, you stitch it here through all the layers. So you have 3 layers of Minky and batting, and 1 layer of batting in there. Then you fold it back, do the same thing where you spray it down, lay the next one down, and you just work your way out. So you always start in the middle, and these lines would help to keep you straight. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where it's super easy to get off a little bit. And then you roll it up because you got to stick it through your machine. And my sister has this little brother, and she was able to quilt hers on that. So you don't have to have a bigger neck machine like I do, and you'll get to see the difference between both of those. But she was able to do it because we have these special rings that help put everything together so you can work with it easier. Did that make any sense?
When we roll up the edges to slide it through the center of the machine.
I think I need extras. This stuff just shifts.
Yeah, we need
Even as I'm pinning it.
We need to get some more spray.
Okay, so there's that one, and then I'm gonna pin on the other side just to save time. I guess I should mirror it, huh? So this will go over here. I was gonna say, let's show them what we've got of yours. So here's what we're gonna make. Shannon cut hers in half instead of using the long strips like I'm using. And then we rolled up both sides and they're pinned, but this way she can work with it and feed it through her machine and deal with this big heavy fabric, because this is heavy.
Yes, it is.
And okay. Right now this part doesn't matter because it's going to get unrolled. to later. But this is where we're going to be sewing, is right here and on this side. And I don't know the name of these rings, but they're specifically for quilting, for this very thing. They wrangle, help keep all your stuff wrangled together. I guess I don't have an even pair in there. These are called
Quilt rings.
Sumo Pin Cushion Wrist. Oh, that's weird.
Oh, that's
Maybe.
the other ones here are just called quilt rings. Let's have a funny name.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for now. Now we're gonna take these to the machine and start sewing. Once we both have done our 2 stitches, we're gonna come back to the table, open it up, and then add the next, probably one at a time at that point, right? Was it easier for you instead of...
Yeah, one at a time.
All right, so see you in a minute. All right, so I have a correction. This is what the rings look like.
I said rip it off.
I had them in the wrong bag, but this is Shannon at her little machine, flipping the rings off.
The ring just came off.
And so she's situated where she has 1 roll on each side, and she has her walking foot on. And you have to help the machine, because even though the walking foot does pull top and bottom together, this is a lot of work for the machine. Just don't pull it faster than the machine goes. And you can see what she's doing.
Keep lining up.
Coming over here. This is my sister Shannon, sewing the Shannon fabric.
Very odd.
It is. Not related to each other. Well, she and I are related to each other, but not the fabric and my sister.
No.
Okay, let's look at the back of that. Let's just see what it looks like. Whoop. So this is what happens. You don't see the thread. This is just from the walking feet, but it will go away. So we are using a matching thread. However, because of the pile, you probably wouldn't see it. And honestly, on the top, it wouldn't matter anyway, because it's an inside seam. So she's gonna fold this side back, and then we'll take it over to the table, spray these down, add the next side. But when you start out, we found that this works to be able to do the 2 center some of the time. So there you go.
Start on to the next one.
Are you gonna turn it around?
Yeah. Put my thingies back in.
It looks like
my
feet. Shawl.
All right. Face down.
Your clip is gonna come off. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. From my viewfinder, I thought the
the
pattern was.
edge, yeah.
Never mind.
All right.
And if the edges don't line up, it's okay, because they're different cuts from different bolts, and they're just slightly different. But the middle is what matters anyway.
All right. Oh, this thing's heavy.
It looks like a snake.
It does.
All right. So see how that's coming through from the machine? And then this is my machine, but we can't use it right now because I didn't bring all my parts and pieces. But it has a little bit bigger neck and a built-in locking foot. Other than that, they're really similar home machines. But to be honest, I didn't think her machine was going to handle this, and I'm impressed. So it's a lot of work on it, so
it's doing it. Sometimes it needs me to pull, and sometimes it walks by itself. So it just depends on its mood. Yeah. It's moody.
All right. Shannon has made me switch sides. I was going to have her show you what she's doing with her quilt, but no. All right. So I'm just unrolling it a little bit. Now Shannon has actually done a full one of these. I haven't in a while. You did just one side at this point, right?
Yeah, just one at a time.
Okay, so I'm just going to roll this in and we're going to reclip it. Otherwise it's just too much to handle. And we do, remember all these lines we did in here? This is kind of important. Oh, by the way, I want to show this to you. This is a very large seam allowance. It's probably a 1/2 inch or more. And that's okay, because that's
how I sew.
But it needs it. You need a big seam allowance. But you want to come and see how we're doing here, and I want to find the tape measure.
So you want to make sure you're lined, you're evenly lined. I think I put the tape measure right.
Oh, here's the... Yeah, because this is where things can start to turn on you, and if you don't correct it, it'll be really noticeable. So all I'm doing is going from there to there, and look, we got 5 inches. She's actually 5 inches.
Surprising!
Yay, Shannon! Okay, so
I did it!
We don't really have to correct anything on this one. So next thing she's doing is she's going with this color, right?
Yep.
We're gonna glue this down. We're gonna see if we have enough glue to make that down.
I think the little bottle might have
A little bit in it.
okay. Maybe.
We underestimated. Oh yeah. I don't think it's. No, there's nothing coming out of it. In an ideal world, you're going to glue it down because it will shift, but we're going to pin it. So we're going to try. You want to try without the glue, Shannon?
Sure, let's do one strip without glue and we'll see how it goes.
I would highly recommend gluing it down. All right, so same thing. Face down, glue it, pin it, glue it and then pin it. And then she's going to feed it through her machine. And she's going to keep going that way, and then she's going to turn around and come this way with all this. But we're doing one strip at a time now. So this will be fun.
All right, so we'll get this all pinned down and sew it up, see how it goes.
Soon you'll know if it works without glue. All right, so this is one of the quilts that Shannon has been working on. So she just alternated these two colors. Again, we had a bunch of kits and mixed and matched them. You wouldn't normally have this kind of option unless you have as much Minky as we did. You can also make these quilts by picking your own Minky and cutting it to whatever length you want. But if you were to do the kits, that's what we're working with. But anyway, I want to show you the back. So this is what it looks like back here. So it's quilted. And then we're gonna finish these off, probably not in this video, or not today, but look how cool that is. And so it's quilted. It is all quilted as you go. So we're basically doing a quilt as you go Minky blanket. And there you go. So it's all quilted down in there. And we might as well see what Shannon's up to. You missed her facial expression.
You didn't miss much.
So I want to show you a couple others that she has done. Here is another one where she's alternated these two fabrics. And all of these are browns with the same brown backing. That's just the way our projects are working out. So she's got those two types right there. And another one that she mixed up. Now this one, she actually did cut the 10-inch strip into two 5-inch strips to let's see, it's not gonna work. I'm sorry, people. Anyway, that's kind of a quick overview. You will see, we'll show you the finished project on all of these when they're done, but you can see how you have the creative liberty to do what you want, and the kits just give you this fabric and a starting point. So there we go. We are going to trim these down and put binding on it. That will be Minky when we're all done. Okay, so we're pinning the next row, and we ran out of the spray basting, and the last row worked really, really well. And we just did what she's doing right now, where we did extra set of pins to keep things from moving, and it looks really good. It didn't move. I think this will be a little bit more of a challenge if you have not done this before. I would definitely try the go through, but it is working for this. And then we're gonna get the spray glue before we're done with all of these, but this is what we're using. We're making do with today.
On the verge of not working. Being too thin for these clips. Might need to just start pinning.
Yeah. Do you need more than those two? Because we have more of those clips.
No, this will be fine. Let's just keep them out of the way. These ones are probably just gonna slide off because there's not a ton of fabric left in them.
Yeah.
All right, here we go again.
Notice we have a vacuum out because we're playing with Minky. I would recommend having your vacuum out. And anytime you cut it, vacuum it right away, because Minky
You gotta wrestle with it for a minute.
makes a mess.
Yeah, get up there. Where's my foot back? Okay, stay put.
Starting seems to be the hardest, huh?
Yes. Getting it going. Lining it up.
It is funny. Okay, you can see her seam allowance on this a little better because this is actually light seam. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what color thread you use on the top. We are matching top and bottom, but the pile is so thick, it's going to, you're not going to notice it. The back you might see it, but on this one, this side you don't. But the dark seam makes it so you can see what's going on. I can see she's struggling with things moving. Ah, do you see that? We just reinforced.
Well, these two aren't the same length, so they're a little not matched up right.
This is our last pass on the first side.
Sort
As
of.
you can see.
We still have to sew this one down.
Right, we'll lay it flat, but we don't have another one to add to it. But you can see how big this side is and how awkward it is.
Yeah.
So be prepared for this at this stage.
Oh, no, now I jumbled it up. My mouth is not working. Oh well. We're gonna make it work. All right, situate. Make sure my bobbin didn't run out. Okay, so what I have done is I have cut a bunch of strips of the same fabric that we're using on the back side of all the quilts. I've cut a bunch of strips and I've sewn them together so it's like a big, huge, continuous ribbon. Because I have 5 quilts to bind the edges of, it's easier for me to just make it like it was a big spool and bind around the edges of the quilt like this. So on the back side, it just looks like that, and on the front, it looks like that. Okay, here's the completed blanket. So they all have front and back, and they're just bound with the normal quilter's binding. So I'll show you all 5 of mine. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. Here's the third one. Here's the fourth one. And here's the 5th one. So they were all, there's my daughter Tegan helping. These are all, they were all mix and match from the kit. So they all came with all of these different colors in them. And I mixed them up together to make 5 completely unique blankets. And Lynn has the 6th one.
Okay, so now I'm at home with my machine. I wasn't able to do anything at my sister's house because I just kept forgetting to bring all the parts and pieces. I obviously don't travel well. Anyway, and that's a different sister than who has a log home. I've got 2. So anyway, I've got my basting spray. So this is sprayed down really good. That bottom piece is actually white. And I lifted it up right there, but it is down. And then I am having problems with this slipping because it is super slick. So I pinned it, and I pinned it very often. So I'm only going, you know, what's that, like 4 inches, 3 inches before I stick another pin in there because it really wants to move. And obviously this is rolling. So just stitching it down, and I've done one side already. This is what this looks like so far. And then I'll show you how my sister did the binding. She was just kind of a quick overview, and I wasn't there with her. So I'm going to actually show you the binding, the trimming and the binding steps. These things are big. I highly recommend, in addition to all the supplies I told you, doing it on a big table. You'll see that we are actually doing this on my sister's large dining room table that she used for crafts. So it's not a nice table, meaning don't do anything that would ruin your table or protect it if that's what you're going to use. But a big surface is highly recommended. I am finishing this blanket. I started it out over there, but I'm finishing it in my little space. It has been a bit of a challenge, but I knew what I was in for and do this quite often. I would highly recommend get yourself a table, even if it's just a card table or a banquet table, moving to the kitchen, even a hard floor. You're going to want, a soft floor could work, but a hard floor is a little easier. But the point is, you need space. Look at all this Minky. I will tag this store. They do not have an online store, but if you see something you like, you can call them and they will do their best to hunt it down and ship it. But things move so quickly here, it's just not worth for them to do the inventory. So what I see up here, these are called flat folds. This is usually what I go for. These are the ones on the bolts. The flat folds are kind of limited in size. Usually there's some really big ones, but I find that they're usually a little more affordable. But then they have all different types of Minky. See all the textures on the wall? Textures and prints. And this is the scrap bin. This is a good place to come and get smaller pieces. This is where I got the white that I had used in my blanket. But you can make one of these blankets, that's cute, by taking scraps, making it scrappy, doing whatever you want with it. Look at that bin, it's overflowing. And here's the back side of those quilts, pretty much the same, it's just they're hanging. Those are all the Minky quilts hanging. And then in the distance are all the cottons. We will not do that today. Look how thick this is. This is like really thick. So Minky is usually 65 inches wide. You can get it in 90, which is what these taller bolts are. And the quilts that Shannon and I did, we bought a full bolt of 90 wide to do all of our blankets and have some extra. But you can easily do your quilt with a 60 wide piece of Minky. And on the back of the box, it will tell you the size. Look at that. Never ending Minky. They have kits here and pre-made stuff here. So you can actually buy a blanket, not just the fabric.
I don't know why, but
They also have this muslin fabric. It's also by Shannon. And then here's some kits.
Well, oh, somebody dropped their credit card here.
And she came in and picked it up.
Did she? And see, we can call them.
So you can go to the Shannon website and see more. But if you see anything here, love to support this small business.
Did that one lady ever come and pick up her stuff?
Look at these. These are remnants of Minky and flannel. This is the place to go for Minky.
All right, well, I will just.
Woohoo!